Call Thawadala Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. That's all praise to the Most High God of Israel, whose true name is Yahweh, and the name of Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Today we're going to get into tithes. We're going to get into what tithes are, and is this the times that we in that we should be paying tithes? So me, I've been paying tithes for about almost 3 years, and all praise to the Most High. I spoke to a beloved brother, and he led me to a precept. And in that precept, I had gotten this revelation, right? We're going to call this a revelation because I never knew this before, of this tithing situation, right? So we're going to understand what a tithe is. We're going to go into where these tithes need to be given and offered, and should we be paying tithes in the place of our captivity, right? So let's start with Leviticus 27 and verse 30 to get an understanding of what a tithe is.
Niggas counting me out. Nigga, don't turn to a false prophet. Watch your mouth, every word you say, you gonna get held by. Living in this hell when I come from Joseph. Don't turn me to a hellfire. All that dirt that you do on my name and that flame, you still can't put out.
Leviticus 27, verse 30. And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord.
Right, the tithe is the seed or the fruit of the land, right? Keep going.
And if a man will at all redeem aught of his tithes, he shall add thereto the fifth part thereof.
Right, so if he wants to get his offering back, he has to pay the price of that offering plus a fifth of that, which would be 20%. Keep going.
And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, even of whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord.
Right, you need to give a 10th of your herds. So we see a tithe is the 10th of your crops of the land, and a 10th of your herd, like cattle. Right, keep going.
He shall not search whether it be good or bad, neither shall he change it. And if he change it at all, then both it and the change thereof shall be holy. It shall not be redeemed.
Keep going.
These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel, Mount Sinai.
Right, so this tithing has to do with grain, with crops, and with cattle. We don't see any money being talked about unless you want to buy your tithing back. And there is a certain situation where you will be substituting your tithe with currency, right? And we'll get into that. So let's go to Numbers chapter 18 and verse 22. Start at 21.
Numbers 18, 21. And behold, I have given the children of Levi all the 10th in Israel for an inheritance, for their service which they serve, even the service of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Right, the service of the Levites is them serving at the tabernacle of the congregation. They will be serving at the temple of the Lord. Right, keep going.
Neither must the children of Israel henceforth come nigh the tabernacle of the congregation, lest they bear sin and die.
Right, no children of Israel could come into the tabernacle. Right, keep going.
But the Levites shall do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they shall bear their iniquity. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel they have no inheritance.
Right, keep going.
But the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer as an heave offering unto the Lord, I have given to the Levites to inherit. Therefore I have said unto them, Among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance.
Right? These tithes that the Israelites give to these Levites is an offering unto the Lord. This is a burnt offering that the Israelites have to present at the tabernacle for the Levites, because they don't inherit the inheritance of land like how the other tribes of Israel inherits. So let's go to Deuteronomy 14 and verse 22.
Deuteronomy 14, verse 22. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed that the field bringeth forth year by year.
Keep going.
And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, the tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always.
Right? So these tithes, right, it needs to be brought to the place where the Lord chose, which is Jerusalem. And we've seen Solomon building the temple for the Lord in Jerusalem. It's going to be a tithe of corn, of wine, of oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and thy flocks, that thou mayest fear the Lord thy God, right? So we don't see money being issued here, right? Keep going.
And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee,
Huh?
then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shall go into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose.
Right. So let's say the land of Ephraim is too far from Jerusalem. So it's going to be a long way for us to get these fruits and this grain over there, and it's too heavy for us to carry. So if this fruit and grain will get spoiled by the time we get there, we can't offer that to the Most High. So we would have to use our money and turn this into this tithe offering. Why? Go ahead.
And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household.
Right. So we will use our money to buy
And the
grain.
leaf
So we will use our money to buy grain. We will use our money to buy cattle, so that we can have an offering to present to the Lord, so that we as a family, as a household, can eat in the presence of the Lord as all the other children of Israel when they're presenting their tithes. Because we're coming, some children of Israel will be coming from a far place. So by the time they get there, their offering may be spoiled. So that money will be used to turn into this grain so they can eat a fresh produce. Right? Keep going.
and the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee.
Right? So the Levites got to eat with us.
At the
Right? The Levites got to eat with us. So now let's go to Malachi 3 and verse 1.
Malachi 3, verse 1. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. In
Right?
the
This is
Lord
dealing this
whom
is
he
this messenger is dealing with John the Baptist. We can prove that. Keep going.
and the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts.
Right? This Lord who we seek is going to come to his temple. This is dealing with Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ.
But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap.
Go ahead.
And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness.
Right. So he's going to purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. So these offerings that we're presenting to these Levites can't be offered until Yahushua comes to his temple. Right? Keep going.
Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old and as in former years.
Right. So these offerings aren't even being accepted by the Most High right now. These tithe offerings that y'all are giving is not being accepted by the Most High. It is not profiting you anything. It's only profiting those that you're giving your tithes to. Right. Keep going.
And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts.
Right. This is judgment day. Right. This is talking about the sinners being judged in the day that the Lord of the covenant comes back to his temple. Right. Keep going.
For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
Right. The Most High don't change. So this isn't going to change until the Yahushua come back. Right. This here is not going to change. Keep going.
Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return?
Right. So Malachi is asking, what you talking about? Where are we going to return? Right. Keep going.
Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings.
Right. This is dealing with the times of the past. Right. This ain't dealing with right now. Back in the times of Malachi, they were robbing the Most High for his tithes and for his offerings. Right. Keep going.
Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it.
Right. So I was demonized because I was paying tithes to who I was paying tithes to. So this scripture got brought out to me, and all praise to the Most High, because I had to read the context of this scripture, right? It says to bring it into the storehouse. But we're going to prove that we shouldn't bring any offerings to the Most High outside of the temple, right? Keep going.
And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts.
Right. We don't have any fruits of our ground. We don't have any wine. We're not growing anything. We live in the cities. Right. Me, I've been paying tithes for about almost 3 years. Right. And I don't have any crops for the Most High to be making plenty for us. And we can talk about money, but we're in the land of our captivity. Right. The Most High not going to make us comfortable here to where he's going to enhance our income. Right. I've been trying diligently to give my 10%, right? And all it is 10% of my money going out. You know what I mean? Keep going.
And all nations shall call you blessed, for ye shall be a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts.
Right? These nations ain't looking at us like we blessed. You know what I mean? We got brothers paying tithes, and guess what? These nations still looking at us like niggas and spicks, right? So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 12 and verse 5.
Deuteronomy 12, verse 5. But unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come. And thither Ye shall bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes and heave offerings of your hand and your vows and your free will offerings and the firstlings of your herds and of your flocks.
Right. So he said, in the place where the Most High God chooses, right? When Moses was given his law, we were not in the land of Jerusalem. We weren't in the times of Solomon at this time. Solomon built the temple for the Most High, right? In the land of Jerusalem. This is where the Most High God chose, right? This is where we bring our offerings, our tithes, and free will offerings, our flocks, and our crops, right? Keep going.
And there ye shall eat before the Lord your God, and ye shall rejoice in all that ye put your hand unto, ye and your households, wherein the Lord thy God hath blessed thee.
Right. Keep going.
Ye shall not do after all the things that we do here this day, every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes.
Right. Because at this time in the wilderness, they was doing whatever they wanted to do. Right. They was just given the law. Right. They was doing a whole lot of complaining in the wilderness. Right. Keep going.
For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which the Lord your God giveth you.
Right. We didn't go to the land of Israel. That's not the land. He was saying you ain't get to the Israel. You ain't get to the land of rest yet. Right. You ain't get your inheritance yet. You're still in the wilderness, going through the wilderness to get to that. Keep going.
But when ye go over Jordan and dwell in the land which the Lord your God giveth you to inherit, and when he giveth you rest from all your enemies round about, so that ye dwell in safety, then there shall be a place which the Lord your God shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes, and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which ye vow unto the Lord.
Right. We're in, sad to say, but we're still not resting from our enemies. We're being oppressed by our enemies. And the Most High said, when I bring you into the land, right there at the land where I choose to build my temple, that's where you bring your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, and your tithes. He didn't tell him to give it to them while he was in the wilderness. He didn't tell him to pay tithes while he was in Egypt, because he was being oppressed by their enemies. Right? We're not in Jerusalem, and we don't have a temple to be bringing our offerings to the Most High God. And the tithe is an offering, is a burnt offering. Right? Keep going.
And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God, ye and your sons and your daughters, and your men servants and your maid servants, and the Levite that is within your gates, for as much as he hath no part nor inheritance with you.
Right, we don't have an inheritance. None of the tribes of Israel is dwelling in the land of their inheritance. Right, we're dwelling in America. We're dwelling in captivity. Right, keep going.
Take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest.
Right, don't take your offerings to every other place that thou seest. Keep going.
But in the place which the Lord shall choose in one of thy tribes, there thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, and there thou shalt do all that I command thee.
Right, he said, don't be bringing your offerings to anywhere else but to where he established his name, established his temple. Right, that's in Jerusalem. We don't have a temple in Jerusalem. They destroyed the temple in 70 AD. Right, he said, do not bring your offerings anywhere else outside of the temple. So you bringing your tithe to anyone in America, anyone outside of Jerusalem, outside of the temple, right? You're in sin, man. And we're going to get a second witness on this. Keep going.
Notwithstanding, thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates, whatsoever thou soul lusteth after, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. The unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck and as of the hart.
Right, we can kill,
only
go hunting We can kill and go hunting for game, like for deer and all that, and we can kill it and eat it in our homes, right? This has nothing to do with an offering. He's distinguishing a difference between you killing an animal, for you and your family to eat, and then you bringing an offering to the Lord, a tithe being an offering to the Lord, right? To the temple and slaughtering the animal at the door of the temple so the blood can get splattered on the four walls. Keep going.
Only ye shall not eat the blood. Ye shall pour it upon the earth as water.
Right? Don't eat the blood of the animal. Pour the blood of the animal out. Keep going.
Thou mayest not eat within thy gates the tithe of thy corn, or of thy wine, or of thy oil, or the firstlings of thy herds, or of thy flock, nor any of thy vows which thou vowest, nor thy free will offerings, or a heave offering of thy hand.
Right? You can't accept these tithes outside of the temple. Thou mayest not eat within thy gates the tithe of thy corn or of thy wine. You can't eat it in the land of Babylon. You can't eat it in Ephraim. You can't eat it in Zebulun. You got to eat these offerings at the temple in the presence of the Lord. And I'm sorry, but your leader is not the Lord, man. He might be a Lord to you, but he's not the Lord, the Most High God. Right? Keep going.
But thou must eat them before the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God in all that thou puttest thine hands unto.
Right? Keep going.
Take heed to thyself that thou forsake not the Levite as long as thou livest upon the earth.
Right. So listen, man, y'all can't be giving tithes to nobody, man.
When the Lord thy
Right?
God shall enlarge thy border.
So we can't be paying tithes to nobody. You shouldn't be paying tithes to nobody outside of Jerusalem, according to the law of the Most High. Right? We don't worship man. Right? We worship the Most High. We don't do what man say. Right? If what man's telling you to do is contrary to what the Most High is telling you to do, then you're worshiping man and you're not worshiping the Most High God. So let's go to Leviticus 17:1.
Leviticus 17:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded, saying, What man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox, or lamb, or goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people.
Right? These tithes, right? If you kill this animal before you bring it into the temple of the Lord, you're going to be tried as a murderer, right? You're going to be cut off from the people of Israel, right? So a tithe is a cattle, is of grain. So instead of paying money, and if you had cattle or grain, and these people, these Israelite men are asking you for tithes, right? A correct tithe would be a goat, would be a lamb, would be grain offerings. But if you're bringing your goat or your lamb to any Levite and you're slaughtering that goat or that lamb as you're supposed to do in the presence of the Levite that's about to offer this offering to the Lord for you, right? You'll be tried as a murderer, man. He said you're going to be kicked out of the camp, man. Right? Keep going.
To the end that the children of Israel may bring their sacrifices which they offer in the open field, even that they may bring them unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priests, and offer them for peace offerings unto the Lord.
Right? Keep going. We got to bring it to the tabernacle. Keep going.
And the priest shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar of the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and burn the fat for a sweet savior unto the Lord. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations.
Right? You can't bring a tithe offering outside of the temple, man. Because if you was bringing a tithe, a correct tithe would be a lamb or a goat. And if you're slaughtering that lamb or a goat to give to a man, right, then you're going to be charged, man. You are in sin. You are in sin, right? Let's go to Micah 3:11.
Micah chapter 3:11. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us.
Right? You got people that's judging for reward. You got priests, right, teaching for hire. Right? You got prophets out there prophesying for money, man. And they lean on the Lord and say, is the Lord not among us? Nothing can happen to us, right? You're in sin, man. You know what I mean? And you really believe that the Most High not going to deal with this, man. We over here, we're trying to be blameless. So us over here in the saints, we don't pay tithes, man. Right? We don't pay tithes. It's not the time to pay tithes because we can't pay tithes until Yahweh Shah comes back to his temple. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 12.
1 Corinthians 9. If others be partakers of this power over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used this power, but suffer all things, lest we should hinder the gospel of the Mashiach Yahweh Shah.
Right? So he's supporting, right? If others be partakers of this power over you, right? Keep going.
Do ye not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar.
Keep going.
Even so hath the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel.
Uh-huh.
But I have used none of these things, neither have I written these things, that it should be done, but that it should be so done unto me. For it were better for me to die than that any man should make my glorying void.
Right, make your glorying void. This is Paul talking about
For though
people supporting him for teaching these ministries. Right, people supporting him monetarily. We're gonna read this in the NLT when we finish this in the KJV. Keep going.
For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory. I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel.
Right, it's our job to preach the gospel, man.
For if I do this thing,
it's our job to go out there and preach the gospel. Right, we don't get paid for doing this, man. If you want to get paid for your works of the Most High, then that's going to be your reward. Right, we want our rewards in the heavens, man. Keep going.
For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel was committed unto me.
Uh-huh.
What is my reward then? Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel.
Right, that we don't teach the gospel of Hamashiach without charge, man. That we don't abuse our power in this gospel. Keep going.
For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more.
Bring out 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 12 in the NLT.
First Corinthians 9, verse 12 in the NLT. If you support others who preach to you, shouldn't we have an even greater right to be supported? But we have never used this right. We would rather put up with anything that be an obstacle to the good news about Christ.
Right? We don't want your money to teach this, right? We'd rather put up with the struggles of this world, right? than to be an obstacle to our people,
God.
demanding money from these people, right? Keep going.
Don't you realize that those who work in the temple get their meals from the offerings brought to the temple? And those who serve at the altar get a share of the sacrificial offerings?
Like the tithes. Keep going.
In the same way, the Lord ordered that those who preach the good news should be supported by those who benefit from it.
Uh-huh.
Yet I have never Yet I have never used any of these rights,
Right? We don't use the rights,
and I
man.
am
I
not.
mean, it says the Lord said those who preach the good news should be supported by those who benefit from it, right? But Paul said, I never use any of these rights, man. Right? So why we not, why are, for one thing, to charge people to be a part of your congregation, there is no sin upon that, right? But to claim it to be in tithe, there is a sin on it, right? You're presenting tithes outside of the temple, or to call it an alm, right? Yahweh Shah said, don't do your alms in the face of men. Don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, because that's going to be your reward, right? You telling everybody about what you're doing is going to be your reward. All the glory of men. Oh, he did this, man. How upstanding is this man for him giving to the poor, right? He said, what you do in secret, you're going to be rewarded openly. So if you want to charge people in your camp, you know what I mean, to be a part of your camp, I mean, at least let brothers know before they come in to the camp. You know what I mean? So they can count the cost. Right? We got to count the cost before we start building the house. Right? Keep going.
Yet I have never used any of these rights, and I am not writing this to suggest that I want to start now. In fact, I would rather die than lose my right to boast about preaching without charge.
Right? We'd rather die, man,
Yet,
than to boast about preaching for money, man. Right? We ain't going to teach for money. Yeah, I mean, we're going to boast that we taught this for the heavenly riches, man. So keep going.
yet, preaching the good news is not something I can boast about. I am compelled by God to do it. How terrible for me if I didn't preach the good news.
Right? There's nothing we can boast about for preaching this, man. Yeah, I mean, because this is something we're required to do. The Most High said this is a commandment. If you don't do it, you're going to go through curses. If you keep my commands, you're going to be blessed. I mean, we're not going to go out here and we ain't going to start charging for money, man. Yeah, I mean, but that's up to you. It's not a sin that if you want to charge to teach the Bible, or if you want to charge for members to be a part of your organization, there's not a sin there. It's all up to the people joining your congregation. I mean, if they want to pay to be a part of your congregation, then all praise to the Most High that you have people willing to support you in that way, right? It's no problem with that. But our thing is, right, we're not paying tithes, man. The Most High said don't pay tithes. He's saying don't pay tithes outside of the temple of the Lord. It ain't the time for that. Yahweh Shai ain't come back yet to his temple. We don't have a temple, man. So if you want to make it about a fee, then that's all praise to the Most High. You know what I mean? But all of y'all that's paying money and the thought that it's a tithe, you're in sin, man. And you need to correct yourself. I mean, we're here to wash the blood off of our hands. Right? Keep going.
If I were doing this on my own initiative, I would deserve payment. But I have no choice, for God has given me this sacred trust.
Right? We don't got no choice to do this work, man. Right? If we was doing it on our own filthy lucre, right, then we would get paid. It's like being an electrician. I mean, if I decided to be an electrician, I wanted to help fix houses, then I should get paid for that. But as far as teaching this Bible, there's no reward for that. The only reward is in heaven for this, man. And that's Lord willing, we get patted on the back that you've been a good and faithful servant. Keep going.
What then is my pay? It is the opportunity to preach the good news without charging anyone. That's why I never demand my rights when I preach the good news.
Keep going.
Even though I am a free man with no master, I have become a slave to all people to bring many to Yahushua.
Right?
When
We
I was
become
with the
slaves, man.
Jews,
We became slaves to all people, man. I mean, we are free men without no master. Yeah, I mean, the only Lord over you is Yahushua. There's no man. The only Lord you can be over is your household, man. Right? And we slaves in this kingdom. I mean, we are slaves in this kingdom, man. Yeah, I mean, but we're gonna be slaves to our people, right? We're gonna do this work for no money, man. Let me get Acts. Let me get Acts chapter 20, verse 32.
Acts chapter 20 and 32. And now, brethren, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you an inheritance among all them which are sanctified.
Right? We're gonna preach this, right? This word of grace, which is able to build our people up. And only in this way is by our people is by getting sanctified so that we can get our inheritance back. And our inheritance is the land. Keep going.
I have coveted no man's silver or gold or apparel.
Mhm.
Ye yourselves know that these hands have ministered unto my necessities, and to them that were with me. I have shewed you all things, how that so laboring ye ought to support the weak, and to remember the words of the Lord Yahushua, how he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive.
Right. We're going it's more blessed to give than to receive, right? But if you in Israel, man, and you out here receiving, yeah, we could give the word. Giving the word is giving, right? But we got people out here that really need help. We got people out here that's losing their houses, right? They can't afford all these trips back and forth around the world. Yeah, you know what I mean, it's making them weak, man. It's draining our people. But instead of giving, right? Instead of giving, we got people out here that's taking from our people, man. You know what I mean? Over here in the Saints, personally, I used to pay tithes, and all praise to the Most High for revealing this to me. And I'm going to teach that we cannot pay tithes outside of the temple, right? It is a sin. I am not, I'm not above correction. You know what I mean? I'm not Mr. Know-it-all. I mean, I have no problem with rebuke, right? And I have no problem with going on any platform or to any street debate to discuss this. But this is what the Most High said. This is what his law says. So all y'all that's doing what man is telling you to do, I suggest you go into this Bible, do some studying, man. Do your due diligence and get an understanding. Until then, man, Lord willing, we don't make no enemies over this. You know what I mean? But we don't fear, man. We don't care about your feelings over here. Yeah, I mean, we do thus saith the Most High, and we're going to bring it out, huh? Yeah, I mean, and all y'all that hear this, we're washing our hands. If you whether or not you want to keep doing it, that's on you. We're gonna say this right here. We ain't gonna keep bugging this thing. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna bring it up to our people, the brothers that we love, and let them know for sure, right? We're gonna show these precepts like the Most High commanded us to do. Yeah, I mean, and Lord willing, our people get edified, man. But all you leaders in Israel, I don't know how y'all skip this. Yeah, I mean, this thing ain't for profit, man. The only profit we getting is thou good and faithful servant. We all getting that same penny in the kingdom, man. You know what I mean? So with that, we're gonna go say, call out with Allah, how about Shimmy Awashah? We say Mawaf Lababa.